I am wearing my Sunday red because it is Tiger Woods week at the Genesis. Welcome to Tea Time. I am Andy Lang from wagertalk.com, being joined as always by Nick Borman. Nick, we ever going to get a winner that's less than 100 to 1, you think? Or is this just our destiny? Is this what 2024 is going to be? Just real quick thoughts about this slew of underdog winners. Does it affect our handicapping or not? And then we're going to break down Riviera Country Club. We're going to give you a total strokes gained. We're going to give you some Tiger Woods props, players that can trip you up, outright winner. Nick, just these long shots, man. It's the year of the long shot. What do we take away from it?
Obviously, in the bigger scheme of things, this is a shorter sample size, just being 6 weeks or whatever that we've played so far this season. So I'm still hanging my hat on the fact that the trends that we've been running with over the last several seasons will come to fruition here at some point. But it is been frustrating to say the least, because now you're really just trying to pick 100 to 1 and 200 and 300 to 1 winners is really just a dartboard throw, right? So it's hard to find, like, whether it's course history or current form or even long-term form on these guys that are, there's a reason they're 200 to 1. It's because none of those things are there. So you're really just going, nah, that guy, and hoping for the best. So it's made it difficult. It's fun, right? I enjoy seeing some of the names up there, although I would obviously like enjoying cashing it out. I take a little bit more, but it's coming, Andy. I think we'll be all right. I think this will work itself out. And again, you have to feel the deeper the fields are, the bigger the events are, especially when you get to the signature events like this, the majors, of course. The tougher the course is, you have to believe the cream of the crop rises. So I eventually think we're going to see that, and hopefully it's this week, because I got a couple of guys I like that aren't at the very very top of the board, but are in that mid range board where I like to sprinkle a lot. So I think we're going to get in there this week.
Well, let's start breaking it down. They're playing Riviera Country Club, and there's a few things you have to know about the way they're doing this event. Right now, there are 71 players in the field. There will be a cut after 36 holes, and my understanding is it's top 50 plus ties and any player within 10 strokes of the lead. We could have
It,
71 players make the cut. It is possible.
it's conceivable, yeah. Not nobody gets cut. Yes, it is.
A lot of big names. Max Homa loves this place. Zalatoris is a guy I'll be keeping my eye on. He finished 13th in his last tournament. He's gotten better every single tournament since coming back from back surgery. He's a guy I'm going to be keeping my eye on. Rory, of course, Scheffler, Cantlay, Justin Thomas, Hovland, and Schauffele are back after sitting out last week. And, of course, Tiger Woods. So let's talk a little bit about the course. Absolutely beautiful course. There are some elements to it that are a little bit easy in that it's not the longest course in the world, but it's got some teeth to it. There's trees that, if you do have wayward shots, you can absolutely be behind a tree. And the greens are notoriously tough for putting. This is a course where par five scoring is an absolute necessity. You go back and you look at the previous winners, and they've just absolutely torn up the par fives. So you're going to have to take advantage of those, limit the damage if you put the ball behind tree. There are some holes where par is just going to be a good enough score. Walk away with a par, move on to the next one. I would expect the majority of the field to make the cut with that rule about 10 shots. The weather looks, as of now, at the time of recording this at Tuesday morning, weather looks pretty good. Sunday might be the only day
Hmm.
that we get a little bit of weather, which could absolutely
Yep.
throw a wrench into things. But as we saw last week, the weather it changes day to day, and it's really really tough to predict. So congratulations to Riviera, because they have a beautiful video of every hole on the course with a narrator. It's like heaven for me. So
We
I want to
love when
go
they do
over. I
that.
want to go over. Yes, it's perfect. Finally. So I want to go over three of my favorite holes here, and we'll just start off with hole one. 505-yard par five. You have to birdie it or better. Sets the
Yeah.
tone for the rest of the round. You got to be aggressive and accurate right off the tee. If you do, you're going to have a short shot that can set up eagle. You walk away with par, that's deflating. So if you walk out with par, you could be one or two shots down at the start of the round. So I love how you just got to start off strong and get a birdie on the first hole. Hole 6 is 170-yard par 3. Nick, you know I love weird things on golf courses.
Yeah.
And a pot bunker in the middle of the green is something weird on a golf course. So the green is huge, so it's not that difficult to hit the correct part of the green where the pin is. But there will be a couple players that fade it or, hook it a little bit and they got to putt around a pot bunker, or if it lands in there, they've got just a weird looking chip shot. So I love goofy holes and things that holes that shake things up and break the norms a little bit. So I like this one. And then finally, hole 10, 315-yard par 4. It's drivable, but it's a very, very small green. So the drives are just there's a huge bunker that's gonna gobble up a lot of tee shots. Some guys may try and land it a little bit short and play the short game. Other guys may get roll and it rolls off to the side, off to the left there. But regardless, this is where the short game comes into play. If you have a sloppy short game, you can turn this hole into a real mess. So it's a birdie, could be par, could be bogey, but just make no mistake, short game is going to be key on this hole. So those are 3 holes that I think are pretty fun that stick out to me. Nick, is there anything that you want to take away from this course to get us prepared for this field?
Sure. I'll talk a couple generalities of the place in general. You mentioned tree-lined fairways. It's one of those classic design tracks where fairways are tight and they are tree-lined. And yes, wayward drives will be penalized here, so it is important to keep the ball straight off the tee. You mentioned the greens; they're not small. They're average over 7,500 square feet, and you compare that to like Pebble Beach, which is the smallest on tour at 3,500 square feet. It gives you an idea that these are twice the size. However, the playable surface on those greens is a lot smaller. And what I mean by that is that there are a lot of extreme slopes on some of these greens. So it kind of, takes half of the green, away as far as you can't put a pin there anyway. And the ball's never going to settle where it is. And it makes it very difficult in that regard. So the greens are difficult. And the rough is interesting this week. It's Kikuyu grass. If you look at some of the information out there on the rough for this particular grass, it's not long. You're going to hear, oh, the rough's only 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches long. But what happens in this grass is the ball finds the bottom. So it plays very, very thick. So even if you get into the rough there, the ball goes right to the very bottom and you're trying to really hack it out of there. So the rough will be penalizing. Wayward shots will be penalizing. It's going to be hard to avoid bogeys when you miss a fairway or miss a green. At Riviera. And that's always been the defense of this course because, it is classic. It's not overly long, but it does play pretty long at 7,300 yards. It's just, it is tricky, especially around those greens. And then you look at some of the player profiles that have won here over the years. It's driver distance is always going to be a factor, but it's really the accuracy. You got to keep this thing in play, like I mentioned. And it's iron play. Putting really hasn't been, if you look at some of the winners here and their data for the weeks, it hasn't been one of the most important things. Usually it's always, you got to make your putts to win. And of course, that's still true to some extent. But really, because the greens are pretty difficult as it is, it's the guy that's going to avoid mistakes most of the time. He's not going to make the most birdies necessarily, but he's probably going to make the fewest bogeys. And that's going to come with well-placed iron shots, not making a lot of birdies, but just avoiding making the mistakes around the green. So that's what I got for you here. And listen, the field is good. We got 9 of the top 10 players in the world. The only person not here is I'll say not defending champion John Rahm, obviously over at LIV Golf now. So a couple trends I'll throw out there, Andy, if you're interested in hearing, is this course. The theme of the trends I'm going to throw out there are this place rewards experienced players who know how to win, who are familiar with the nuances around the property. So 14 of the last 16 winners here were at least 29 years of age or older, so no young guns. 14 of the last 16 winners have had at least 3 prior professional wins. 16 of the last 18 have played the Genesis at least 4 times. And then 14 of the last 18 have not only played the Genesis, but had a finish of 12th or better. So all that says is that guys like, Scottie Schefflers and Xander Schauffele's and Max Homas who've been around, who've won, who played this track are going to probably do well this week. But a guy like Ludwig Aberg, who is, the up-and-comer, who's now 11th in the world official golf rankings, he hasn't really been around here. He's not old enough to do it. So this particular track might not be set up for him specifically. So that's what I got for you on some notes for the course this weekend.
Love it. If you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button, leave us a comment. Tell us what your best play is for this week. Love reading the comments. Love hearing what you guys are playing this week at the Genesis. We're going to talk Tiger Woods props here in a minute. We're going to give out a special promo code for 50% off our golf plays. Before we get to that, Nick, we always talk about total strokes gained. Have this great chart where we show what the total strokes gained are for the last 12 months, 6 months, 3 months. Kind of let you know who's been playing good long term and who's been playing good and bad short term. So, Nick, walk us through total strokes gained here the last 12 months.
Well, unfortunately, this graphic has been utterly useless so far this season, as we're 0 for 6 on finding outright winners here. But as we talked about at the beginning of the show, hopefully the longer term trends, as you can see up at the top of this in the green, 50 of 93 winners since the start of 2022. So now we're talking a little over 2 years. More than half of the winners of the tournaments have been inside this top 10 chart, and that's the top 10 guys strokes gained over the last 12 months in the field. So as you can expect, these are usually the guys near the top of the odds board. Scottie Scheffler leads the way, Rory McIlroy, of course. It's all the big names in here. You can start to go down the list and find guys like, hey, Russell Henley's been playing playing well for a 12-month period, and you see his odds price at 70-1 compared to a lot of others. So those are guys that start to jump out a little bit at you. And although his trend is kind of going down, right? So you can see the 6-month trend, and then the 3-month trend has fallen quite a bit. Still, as the past 6 tournaments have proven, all it takes, honestly, sometimes is one good round to win these tournaments. And that's what a lot of these guys are doing. I mentioned Aberg. He's listed in there because he's just been playing great since he's really made a splash on tour. And then nobody has been hotter than Justin Thomas over the short term, 6 months and 3 months. He's playing phenomenal. That win is coming. We jumped on him a couple weeks ago at 28-1. Now he's down in the 18-1 range or lower. So the value on him is slowly eroding, but he will get that win eventually. So hopefully, Andy, we're going to find the winner here, because I keep promising that this has been the go-to golden rule of finding outright winners, but hasn't happened yet. But I'm confident this week somebody in this graphic is probably going to win this trophy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Promo code that is available at wagertalk.com for this week. PGA 50%. That's PGA 50, and the percent sign gets 50% off a golf package. You can use that for myself or Nick Borman. It includes all plays, so pre-tournament. If we have any daily plays through the tournament, you get those. You get Nick's outright winners as well. Anything that has anything to do with golf in our plays will be attached to that. You can use the promo code PGA 50%. Coming off a 2-0 week myself, Nick. I went chalk, but I did score on Scottie Scheffler and Justin Thomas. Both make it inside the top 20. So that was a nice little cash. And tell you, man, checking the weather. Last week was if you were patient and you sided with the guys who got the best tee times on Thursday, that was an absolute gift. I was talking to somebody, Nick, about I'd just be fuming mad if I was in those poor guys that had to tee off in the morning on Thursday. I mean, just
I know.
like no, just like no chance, really. It's like really we get the first and the second round in the worst of the weather. So we had some good profits there. So it didn't cash on Nick Taylor or Charlie Hoffman to make it to the playoff, but put plenty of profits out there and plenty of profits this week with a lot of big name players, a lot of stats that we can go off of. So fully expecting a really, really good golf week. Use the promo code PGA 50% at wagertalk.com for myself and Nick. Let's talk Tiger. We're coming off of the big unveiling of Sunday Red, the clothing line. It was met with mixed reviews. I don't really know why people were so upset with some of the Tiger stuff, saying it was pretty plain and not that exciting. And it's like, yeah, that's what golf lines are. That's what clothing is. It's a plain black fleece with the Tiger Woods logo on it. Like, and you're going to pay $200 for it. So, but we're not talking clothing here, Nick. We're talking props. FanDuel has a couple of props up there that are interesting, and there's a few other places. So let's talk a couple of Tiger Woods props, and I'll just go to the big one here. Over under 47.5. finishing position. This is equal juice on each side. What do you think, Nick? You taking over under 47.5?
Obviously, these are tough bets because you just really don't know. You expect him to. He's like every time he's teed it up over the last couple of seasons in this same scenario, he always has that one good round, first or second round. One of them's pretty solid. Then he has a poor one. He usually kind of sneaks in on the cut line, and then kind of fades as the week goes on because of his inability, we'll say, to walk. So this week we have a cut, yes, but it's a small field. So 47.5. If he makes the cut, right? If he can get through those first two rounds, 47.5 could very well just be the cut because, as you mentioned, it's top 50 in ties. There might not be a lot more than 50. There could be more than 50, but I'm inclined to think because of his history here, right? Tiger's won everywhere in the freaking world he's played, right? But this is the one place that has tamed him, and he just hasn't figured it out. He doesn't have a lot of great results here. He loves the place. He just can't win. So there's something about the place that just doesn't fit with him. And of course, there's if he's playing all four rounds, if he's making it, or if he doesn't make the cut, we're cashing anyway. But if he plays all four rounds, I think he fades kind of as the week goes on. So I'm inclined to take. I hate to say it, but I'm inclined to take the over finish position because I definitely, I'm a huge Tiger fan. I'll be the first guy in the stores to get the Sunday Red Tiger line. I love him. I want him to win. I want him to play well. The sport needs him still, which kind of is sad in its own right. But I'm inclined to say over is probably the smart play this week. I assume you might agree with me because I tend to think you always kind of do that, and you always tear my heart away. But I think I have to go over on this one.
Money is money, Nick. And when we're betting our own hard-earned money, we throw emotion out the window, and absolutely it's an over for me. He was 18th at the Hero World Challenge, which sounds great until you realize there was only 20 golfers playing. So he was at the at the Masters. He had to withdraw. I don't really take a whole lot away from that, but last year at the Genesis, he did finish 45th. He had a 67 in round 3, and that just
Wow.
feels like a complete anomaly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I don't. Even though there's only 71 golfers, pretty stacked at the top there. There's a lot of guys that are going to be good, and so one of the things when I'm looking at these finishing positions is I want to see like who I think is going to be bad this week and how many guys are going to be really bad. And I got to be honest, it's a pretty good field. There's not too many guys in there that I would say are just complete cross-offs. There's a couple, but not many. Even the lowest price guys on DraftKings for DFS, which we'll get to DFS lineups here in a minute, like Seamus Power, Sam Ryder, 6,000. These are guys that have made the cut over 50% of the time in 2024. So yeah, I think it's a tough field. Don't buy his health. I just think it's a pretty easy over 47.5. FanDuel has a couple of props here. A lot of them are really, really juiced. Like, Nick, do you want to taste on a 500 to 1 for him to go wire to wire? Or you think you might
I
pass
do
on
love
that
that one. Yeah. I mean, 500 to 1. Whew.
one?
We gotta
Any
let
of
it
these
go.
props interest you?
Yeah, well, there's half of these ones are for round one. So it's just like, how is he going to get off starting in this event, right? So I'm looking at it in the list right now, and the big ones, the one that really is kind of jumping out at me is the birdies or better in round one. Now, the thing about Tiger is the guy can still play golf and he can still make birdies, right? Where he struggles is that he's not clean all the way through his game, and where he makes mistakes is what's going to cost him in the long term as far as the tournament goes in his finish position. But making 3 birdies, making 4 birdies is something I think he can still do. And I'm tempted to look at there's on FanDuel, it's even money to make 4 birdies or better in round one. It sounds like a lot, but you mentioned the par fives. There are very, very easy scoreable par fives. So you chalk it up to him just bombing up there, getting close and making birdie on at least 2 or 3 of those. And then you're talking about maybe 1 or 2 others. I'm inclined to think he can get 4 birdies in the first round. He might also make 4 or 5 bogeys and end up shooting even par or worse, but I think he can do that. It's kind of like my game, Andy. I have flashes of brilliance, and then really over the long term, it's more flashes of ugliness. And that's kind of where I think Tiger is. I think he could do the 4 birdies. So that's the one I'm kind of looking at right now.
You heard it here first. Nick has compared his game to Tiger Woods. Uh, not only am I in slight agreement on the 4+ birdies, I'm in big time agreement. I went and looked at his last year. I'm looking at it right now. Round one, he didn't have 4 birdies. He had 5 birdies, and
Okay.
you were absolutely right. He mixed in 3 bogeys, and
Yep.
that's the key to this. Is it's not the score. It's how many birdies. I did a bet on
Yep.
Justin Thomas in the last round. Would he have more birdies in the last round, or would there be San Francisco 49ers touchdowns in the Super Bowl? And the key was
Okay.
if he has 7 birdies, but like a couple blow up holes, it doesn't matter about the blow up holes. It's just about the birdie. So
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
with you. He birdied 2 of the par fives last year and birdied the last 3 holes. The putter still works for him. That short game is
Yep.
still dead on. So I think your analysis is great that the bogeys don't matter. He's got the upside, but it's just a roller coaster. And round one, he's going to be the healthiest. So I'm with you. Even money, I'm in. I think
Let's
it's
do it.
absolutely worth
We're
the
in.
play on FanDuel.
Live
Yeah, there you go. Show best bet on Tiger Woods. We don't think it'll last for the entire tournament.
bet.
So I think we're in agreement that he's going to finish worse than 47.5. But round one, yeah, I'd like him to get 4+ birdies. So those are the props
Yep.
that we have on Tiger Woods. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about Tiger. Let us know if you agree or disagree down in the comments. I bet we're split. I bet we're split right down the middle on
Yeah.
Tiger bets. So all right, guys, let's take a look at players that can trip you up. These are players that I think are overvalued this week that I could see people wanting to put in DFS lineups or fantasy lineups or maybe bet on that I would just say, let's be a little bit cautious here. First one, this is just an ongoing trend here, Nick. I'm just fading the winner from the previous week, Nick Taylor. The winners this year have been bad the next tournament they play in, so I'm staying off of Nick Taylor. I mean, talk about you didn't see it coming. He gets the win last week. Before that, he'd finished 71st, miscut 7th, and 52nd. So just absolutely bonkers. He has not finished better than 20th here. And let's take a look at some of these guys that have won this year and how they did. After that, Wyndham Clark, he wins, then 41st the next week. That's his worst finish of the year. Rory McIlroy wins, takes a week off, then finished 66th. Grayson Murray wins, misses the cut the next week. Dunlap, he was horrific, finished dead last after the win. Tommy Fleetwood was kind of the only one. He was 14th after his win. I just think this is a really big letdown spot for Nick Taylor on a course that he doesn't normally play good at, and I think people are going to remember him from last week. And oh no, he's playing well. Not really. Last week was the outlier. I've had horrific success betting on and against this guy. This is like the new Patrick Reed for me. I think I've hit 10% of my Patrick Reed bets across my career. Ludwig Aber, by the way, depending on which round it is, Nick, there's going to be a different pronunciation of his last name. I don't know if you've noticed that every round it's different. Aber, Ober, Aberg. I'm just calling him Ludwig. They got him priced top 10, and that's where he's got to finish to return value. And I'm not so sure that he's a top 10 player. As you mentioned, course experience is huge. He has 2 straight top 10 finishes this season, but even though he finished amazing in his last tournament, I was watching that because he was on the feature groups. Nick, he almost missed the cut. He had a chip in from the deep rough for birdie, and he had a drive that was about a foot away from out of bounds that he converted into a nice score. He was very close on teetering on the edge. Hit a lot of very, very long putts, and I'm just not sure that that translates onto this course. This is not a course that pure power will overpower it. Everybody's going to be able to reach the par five. So, listen, he's great. He's proven me wrong several times. I just don't see it this week. He's not used to putting on this surface, and he's overpriced. And the last one, Viktor Hovland. I don't know what is going on with Viktor Hovland. Played in 2 tournaments in 2024. Not good in either of them. He's priced as a top 5 guy. He finished 20th here last year. His putting numbers are terrible recently. And his 58th place finish that was a shortened tourney with the bad weather. But I just like what's up with him like not wanting to play last week. That 58th finish was terrible because it was a short field. I just he needs to show me signs of life before I'm investing him at these prices. So something just doesn't seem off with him. It's his putting at this point if you're just looking at stats. But Nick Taylor, Ludwig Aber, and Viktor Hovland are my three players that I think can trip you up. All right, Nick, let's take a look at outright winners. I love this guy. He's like one of my number one guys in my seasonal fantasy lineup. So, who are we talking about as an outright winner this week?
Yeah, I'm going Colin Morikawa. It's as I mentioned before, Riviera is tough. It rewards experience and past pedigree. Morikawa certainly has that. He's obviously a two-time major champion. He kind of went on a little bit of a drought, but he returned to his winning ways just this past fall. He won at the Zozo Championship in October, and he's had a slew of good finishes around that as well. He meets most of the trends to be a proven winner. Although he's not 29 years old, he's only 27. He's had 4 previous starts here, including back-to-back top 6 finishes at this venue, Andy. And he's got 7 professional wins under his resume. He's one of the best ball strikers on the planet. We all know that. That's not his issue. His issue is generally on the putting greens with the flat stick. And like I said here, if you look at the past winners, that hasn't proven to be the most important metric at Riviera. Still, he's gained strokes, actually, putting in 8 of his last 13 starts, which has helped propel him to 8 top 15 finishes during that same time frame. And he's gained strokes putting in each of his last 2 starts here. So he tends to, as quirky as these greens can be, he tends to do pretty well on them. And obviously, it's a big reason why he's had the 2 top 6 finishes. So really, bottom line for me, if he putts even slightly above average, which he's been doing more than 50% of the time over the last several months, he's going to contend. I mean, he ranks 5th in strokes gained tee to green over the last 12 months and 3rd in approach. So what matters is getting to the green here at Riviera. He's going to do that. It's just, can he at least avoid losing strokes this week? I think he can, and if he does, he's going to have a chance come Sunday. And listen, if you've watched Colin Morikawa this year, it's kind of been the same. Like, he'll get off to a really good start on round 1, and you're like, oh, shoot, I should have bet him, and I left him off the car. And then you're like, the next couple of rounds is where he starts to stall, right? So hopefully that can go. He can get 2 good rounds in this week, and then that should be enough to get him right in contention on Sunday. But I like Morikawa to ball strike his way to give us a chance on Sunday.
Love it. Yeah, he was the very first guy I put in my my weekly lineup. It was like, all right, use a Morikawa, and then let's fill out the lineup. Let's take a look at DraftKings Darlings DFS lineup. Coming off a pretty decent week, I actually cashed, even though I had 2 guys that missed the cut. Kurt Kitayama, that was the best DraftKings Darling last week. You only need one of these low price guys to finish like Kurt Kitayama did, and you're going to cash. So let's start with Kevin Yu at 6,300. So 2 weeks in a row, Kevin Yu he's not finished good, but both of those weeks were bad weather. He was 58th 2 weeks ago, and last week, Nick, he got one of the worst tee times you could have possibly gotten. He was like one of the first guys to go off in the morning on Thursday. So I'm not really too concerned with that. Before that, he'd finished 6th and 3rd. Weather looks fine this week, so I expect a nice little rebound from him. Is he going to contend for the win? Probably not, but at 6,300, is he going to make the cut? Probably, and he'll get us some weekend points. So I'll start with Kevin Yu at 6,300. Up next, Harris English. Listen, this is what we're looking for in these DraftKings Darlings. He's made the cut in every tournament in 2024. That's key. And he finished 12th here last year, so this price feels like a bargain. His putting strokes gained the last 3 months plus 0.72. Doesn't drive the ball far, but he drives it very accurate. So I expect himself to leave him in good positions in these fairways. So 7,000 for Harris English is great. And then Sepp Straka, 7,100. He's played well here, 45th, 15th, 43rd the last 3 years. He's played 3 times this season. He's finished 12th, miscut, and 26th. So he's got a nice little bit of upside. He drives the ball extremely accurate. He's plus 0.43 total strokes gained in approaches this year. So, yeah, if you're driving the ball very, very accurately and you're doing well with your approaches, yeah, that makes sense why you're going to have good finishes at this course. So 7,100 on Sepp Straka makes it a very solid choice to get weekend points. If you're interested in my full DraftKings lineup, I have a free digital download at wagertalk.com. Just click on my profile. It's free. It's right there. It's got the write-ups on the players that can trip you up. It's got some betting notes in there. It's got the full DFS lineup. That's free on my profile page, wagertalk.com. Nick, real quick, tell everyone where we can find you at, what you have up at wagertalk.com, and you got a really nice plus 190 finishing position bet for us.
Yeah, I got some. Obviously, this week's golf pack is up and available right now at my page at Wager Talk, and we have MLS season starting next weekend, so about 10 days time. So, very looking forward to that. Been 5 straight winning seasons, going for 6 in a row there, plus 60 units last year. Great promo going on where you can get the early bird pricing on the MLS season. Normally $299 for the season. It's $179 right now through the 18th of February. So another 5 days left to get that deal. Or you can get the rest of, or full MLS season and the rest of the golf season, which goes through September. Combo of both for $349. So those are the long-term specials I got going on right now. And yeah, this week's leaderboard bet I'm looking at. I've been doing top 20 so far. Obviously, this is a shorter field, so I'm going with a top 10 to get a better price on here. And I got burned by Homa a few weeks ago, but I'm going back to him, and it's because it's the riff, right? The guy loves this place, and I know, we talk about form, right? And we talk about course history, and the combination of both is usually what you're looking for. The form on Homa the last 2 weeks isn't great. He missed cut last week at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. That followed that lackluster tie for 66 the week prior at Pebble. But if there's any place that can get this guy, call it out of a funk, right? It's only 2 starts. This is going to be it. And this may be his favorite course and tournament of the year. He won a couple of years back. Proof of that was how visually choked up he was during that win and during that trophy presentation. He nearly won again last year. He finished solo second to John Rahm. It was his 4th straight top 10 finish here, Andy. I mean, we're in Southern California. Very few people do it better in this state than Max Homa. In this place in particular, he has just really, really excelled. Prior to those 2 poor starts I mentioned, Homa had finished inside the top 15 in 10 straight starts, including 6 top 10s. He also had the win on the DP World Tour at the Nedbank Golf Challenge in November. So the guy was playing very well. I'm, chalking up a couple of bad weeks to one thing. And if you look at the data, it tells you that his driver let him down the last 2 weeks. And it was really the only thing that held him back. He had gain strokes off the tee with the driver in 13 straight starts prior to the last 2 where he lost. So I'm going to hope he's going to get that driver back into play this week. If he could do that, the rest of his game is still going strong, and he should have no problem. And of course, the confidence of knowing the track really matters when you're hitting tee shots, because you know where you can miss and where not to, and that just really frees you up. So I like Max Homa to rebound this week. I think top 10, you can get plus 190 on him right now. I think it's a great bet.
Beautiful. Love it. Yeah, he completely hosed in the tee times last week. I mean, you saw some of those guys just kind of laughing about it. They went out for their second round. It was like, well, we're kind of screwed on this one. So great stuff, Nick. I've got some betting notes here to go over, but before we finish up and go over our final betting notes, please hit the like button. Hit the bell. If you're not a subscriber already, go ahead and hit the bell. You get notified of all videos. It's a great time to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got daily videos breaking down college basketball and NBA as well as NHL plays. You'll get all of the golf videos that Nick and I put out. We're here every Tuesday breaking down all the golf tournaments. And just leave us a comment, guys. It's a Tiger week. Let us know what you actually, here you go. Let us know what you think of the clothing brand. Because I got to tell you, social media was unkind. I didn't think too much of it. The logo's a little hokey, but Twitter was not a friendly place for the Tiger Woods clothing line. Let us know what you think if you're going to be a customer of the clothing line. I thought the stuff looked like pretty much what I expected from a Tiger Woods clothing line. So look crisp, look pretty clean. Tiger logos everywhere and just some nice plain golf things. So leave us a comment in the section. Let us know what you think about that. Nick, I mentioned top 5 par 5 scores in the field, or I mentioned how par 5 scoring is key here. So some of these are going to surprise you. Here's your 2024 top 5 par 5 scores in this field. Number 1, Tony Finau, averaging 4.27 on par 5s. Tom Kim, who apparently is good on par fives and struggles on the other ones. He's at 4.29. Wyndham Clark is at 4.30. Colin Morikawa, your boy, is at 4.31. And Viktor Hovland only played 2 tournaments, but in those tournaments, averaging 4.32 on the par fives. A couple other notes. Listen, I mentioned Sam Burns last week. Nick, he came through. That is 3 straight top 10 finishes for him, and he's the only
Yeah.
player in the field coming in with 3 straight top 10s. He looks good.
Okay.
That's all we've asked from Sam Burns is some consistency. Taylor Montgomery, only player in the field to have played 5 weeks in a row and made the cut at all 5 tournaments coming into this week.
Wow.
And and Jordan Spieth has not finished better than 15th here in 5 straight years. So those are some betting notes. Go ahead and use the promo code PGA 50%. It gets half off your PGA packs for myself and Nick Borman. Both of those are at wagertalk.com. Listen, guys, it's a great tournament. A lot of profits out there. It's a stacked field with guys that we know a lot of stats on. We've got all the course history. It's a great tournament to build your bankroll and increase that portfolio. We're going to be back next week on Tee Time. Good luck on all your plays. Hit the like button. Leave us a comment. We'll see everyone next week on Tee Time.